could say that the project could be developed now on the basis of the 1.4 million ounces. But as I've already said, we recognise that the main trend mineralisation can certainly grow in terms of resource.
Kairos Managing Director Dr. Peter Turner is in studio with me now to discuss the company's field activities at its Mount York Gold Project. Peter, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Jonathan.
So let's talk about Mount York. You announced this week that it is your focus, the field activities. Take us through this unprecedented resource growth the project has experienced.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, look, when we acquired the project in 2016, the gold resource at Mount York was sitting at about 123,000 ounces. And over the course of the last 8 years or so, we've managed to grow that resource on the same mineralized trend to 1.4 million ounces. So we've seen huge growth in the deposit itself, but we're not finished there. We certainly believe that there's more gold to be found in that particular area,
which would be one of the aims of the drilling program that you've just started. Can you talk us through what the principal aims actually are?
Absolutely, yeah. So we've announced that we've started drilling. It's a massive program, up to 30,000 meters of drilling in 2 phases. DDH1 are actually currently drilling with 2 rigs. We expect a 3rd rig to join in about June. We've already got critical mass. We've already got 1.4 million ounces at the project, and that was really highlighted in the scoping study that we released in November last year. So we could say that the project could be developed now on the basis of the 1.4 million ounces. But as I've already said, we recognise that the main trend mineralisation can certainly grow in terms of resource size, and that's really what we're focusing our efforts on, is to drill additional parts of the mineralization that we haven't fully drilled and drill tested, and certainly following up on some of the higher grade mineralization that we hit in the last time we drilled at the end of 2022. So certainly plugging holes in the existing resource, but also looking on the extension of the mineralization, because we certainly know that the mineralization doesn't just stop on our ground. We've certainly recognized that the mineralization does continue onto Pilbara Minerals ground to the northwest.
You mentioned there that it's open to the northwest on Pilbara's ground. What's required then to gain access to this ground, and what are you chasing there?
Well, firstly, let me answer the question of what we're chasing. We certainly know from the records of Pilbara Minerals that there is mineralisation there. There's historic drill hits of 16 metres at 2.43. So we know the mineralisation continues, and our assessment is that it continues for another 1,500 metres past where we've completed drilling on our own ground. So the target for us is really to pattern drill that extension on the Pilbara Minerals ground. And at the end of 2024, we signed an agreement with Pilbara Minerals. We sold them some non-core assets for $20 million, but in return, we had the rights to the gold and base metal on their ground, on all of their exploration territory. And what we're doing now is negotiating that full form mineral rights agreement. We're making sure that they are happy that we are operating on their tenements, and effectively, once we've done that, which we think is at an advanced stage now, once we've done that, we'll get access and we'll start drilling. And when we do drill, we're going to drill it completely. It's going to be a pattern drilled exercise on the extension of the Mount York deposit, and we think we know what's going to happen there in terms of resource, because that portion of the mineralization is not actually in our resource model at the moment.
So plenty of to look forward to there, plenty of activities to come, and news flow results, etc. Let's talk about the cash for the moment. How well cashed up are you to undertake all these activities?
Well, we put out our quarterly yesterday, and that said really that we've got about 11.8 million in the bank. But we do expect another 10 million to come from that deal that I've already mentioned with PLS, with Pilbara Minerals, now called PLS. So in total, we certainly have enough money to complete all of the drilling that we anticipate drilling in this round, and completion of the pre-feas. So we're fully funded all the way through to the completion of the pre-feas, and that's something that's quite rare for a junior to actually say that that is the case, and certainly good news for our shareholders.
Peter, you've mentioned the pre-feasibility study there. Can you talk us through the timeline on that?
Well, the pre-feasibility really will be completed, I guess, once we finish the drilling, and we anticipate that the drilling will be completed probably in early 2026. So a lot of drilling to do, a lot of evaluation of the mineralization. Hopefully, within a few months, we'll be able to start understanding how big the resource is actually going to grow to feed into the pre-feasibility. So ideally, we'd like to have the pre-feasibility finished this year. But I think realistically, with the amount of drilling that we are going to conduct and the studies that will follow, we do think that the pre-feas will be finished sometime early next year.
Plenty to look forward to in the next 12 months, but good luck with the current drilling program. And yeah, we'll speak again when the results come through. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you.